CSS block element background properties. So as I mentioned before, in the box model, this is the background. Okay, so we have background color, background image. Okay, CSS box model, the background is actually behind the content, right? Behind the content. So if you think about the content here, it's behind the content, right? Content can be text, images, etc, etc. Okay, and then the background extend to the border, so it includes the padding as well. So you can see the background is actually from the content to this particular margin. So all actually the background, right? It's the back side of the content. So it extend to the border, so it includes the padding as well, right? So it does not extend past the border where the margin is. So it's basically sit close to here, right? So that's the background. Okay, it covers the whole area. So there are various properties that we can control using CSS in terms of the background, right? So we can use the background color, right? So we can set the background color using an RGB format, hexadecimal or hex format, or we can specify the color name, or we can actually say transparent if I want transparent background, right? The default background color is a transparent, right? Because it allows the parent element, that means the content, to show through the background. Okay, so that's the default. Background image, so I can actually set the background image. For example, I can set the whole body of my HTML page, set the background image. I can specify a URL. Okay, so if your image sits in the current folder, you can use the URL like this, but if it sits in the subfolder, you have to use a slash and then use subfolder name and the URL, the image name, right? So if you use a background image, it will be presented over the top of the background color. Okay, that's something you need to remember. Okay, because image, you can see here, it sits on the top of the background color, right? So you need to make sure that it not override or overrides the background color. If you can resize the image in order to show the background color if you want, right? So so that's something we need to be bit mindful, because as part of the usability of the web page or website, your website, you need to be mindful about the background color and the image sizes. Okay, and then the background position property actually lets you to adjust the background image where you're going to position it. You can use the position like I want it's on the top or the bottom or the left, right, or the center, or you can specify as a percentage, right? For example, if I say 50%, 50% of the position, it actually position in the middle, right? Or you can position, you can define the position using a pixel format, right? X and Y pixel format, right? Now there is a note here: percentages will position an image based on the center of the image. Okay, however, the constants, something like pixels, use the top left corner of the image. Okay, so I can specify something like this as well. I can mix the position mixed with percentage and pixel as well. So that means 50% horizontal center and 30 pixel vertical down, right? Now remember the default value is 0% and the 0% horizontally and the vertically. That is what we mean by percentage x and y means horizontally and vertically. You can also set the background image whether you wanted to repeat it or fixed or no repeat it. For example, if you set the background image no repeat, it by default it will sit in the top left hand corner like this, right? So you can say the background the property called background repeat property, right? Or you can if you say the repeat, it will repeat horizontally and vertically, right? But sometimes you can repeat this, wanted to repeat this image horizontally only or vertical only, right? So you can say repeat dash x, right? Vertical repeat, or you want to repeat it horizontally or sorry vertically or horizontally, you can say repeat dash y. That's the vertical, this is horizontal. Okay, so if you want horizontally and vertically both like this, you can just say repeat. Okay, so that's about the repeat, background repeat property. Okay, now let's do an examples. Let me explain some examples for these properties. Now let's take first background color. So you know the background color property basically set the background color of an element, right? The background of an element is, now remember, it's the total size of the element including padding and the border, but it not include the margin. Now use the background color and text color that makes the text easy to read, right? So when you use that in your web page, make sure that you use a background color that makes easy to read, right? So if I show now, for example, I can actually show a small example now. Example, I will show it in so using my W3 school example here. So here can see for the body element, the background color has set as a hex value, right? So I can actually specify if I want an RGB value as well, right? For example, I can say here RGB values, let's say 201 76 can specify something like that as well. So that's about background color. Also I can set background color for different elements as well, right? For example, let me show you another example. So here in this example, you can see here there are I have set the element background colors for different elements, like for the body a different color, and for the H1 another color, and for the div element, or maybe you can actually in this case you can put the paragraph. So for the paragraph or the div element, a different color, and also we can specify another color for the span element, something like this as well. Right. That's about now. Remember that the default value is the transparent. That's about the background color example. Then background image, as mentioned before. Now background image, usually that property usually sets one or more background images for an element, right? So now remember, by default a background image is placed at the top left hand corner of the element, right? Top left hand corner of the element. Also it repeated both vertically and horizontally as well. Okay, so that's the default position. The background of an element is the now remember that the background of the image, right? Background of the element is the total size of the element, right? So it includes the padding and border. That's what I mentioned before, right? Now when you use the background image, always set background color to be you specify the background color as well, because sometimes if the image is not available, the users can see the background color, right? So that's something you need to remember. So for example, I can show an example with two sets of background images for the body element. Now for example, let's say this one. W3 school. So in this case, now here it has sets two background images, right? Two background images for the body image or for the body element. The first image appears only once with no repeats, right? And then the second image will be repeated, right? So now here it said background repeat, no repeat for the first element or first image, but for the second image it repeats, right? So that's the this one, right? So this one is no repeat. So that's how we put the background color. We should give the background color, that is the default color if these images not appeared. So that's one example. I can have another example. For example, I can have sets a kind of two linear gradient colors, something like this for an element, right? Here I'm using two linear gradient or two colors as a background image for the div element. Okay. So here I have specified height, background color, background image. It says the linear gradient yellow, red and yellow. So I can actually kind of combine two colors as like this as well. That's also possible. Yeah, that's about the background image. So the background position, the next one. So it's basically the property that sets the starting position of the background image, right? Now remember, by default the background image usually placed at the top left hand corner of the element and repeated both vertically and horizontally. Okay, so I can actually specify the image in different ways, either left top or left center, left bottom, right top, right center, or the right bottom, right center top, center center bottom, etc, etc. So I can show an example in W3 school. Example, now here it demonstrates how to position a background image in a centered at top, right? So here in the body I specify a background image, right? And I want it no repeat, right? Background attachment is fixed, background position center top, right? Center top center, in other words. Okay, so likewise we can actually set the different property values for our background position values for the images.